The Orlando Magic have been a team that have been on the rise, especially in the last 2 years, with Paolo and Franz as their young core, getting defensive pieces like Jalen Suggs, and now they went all in, acquiring Desmond Bane and wagering their future that this big three of sorts is good enough, especially in an injured Eastern Conference, to try and get to the NBA Finals and win it all. So today, we look at how good this Magic team can truly be. And of course, you can only look at how good a young team can be by looking at who they're betting on to be their young superstar. So we look at what Paolo Banchero is doing to try and bring this team to the very next level. Paolo wants to become a legitimate superstar. And I think the best way for him to do that is through varying up his shot diet a little bit, getting to the rim more. He's 6'10", but when you look at his shot frequency and accuracy for someone who's 6'10", you kind of wonder why he settles. He has a bit of what I call the Jason Tatum effect, where despite having such a height and reach advantage on so many of the defenders going against him, settling for these middies and these three balls are only going to make it easier to guard him. Get to the rim a little bit more, and then you can diversify your game by spreading out on the floor. I think that's the best way for Paolo to improve. Even when you're just looking at some of the clips I'm showing you guys here, there's a mix of what he can do. And I think with this floor spacing, however, similar to a Cade Cunningham, I think it's going to show how much better he will operate with some space going on. And I also think the major thing that Paolo is going to have to do is be that secondary to third playmaker on this team. Because Desmond Bane has been acquired, right? So that is going to be their primary ball handler, playmaker. Not ball handler, but playmaker at least. And I think for Paolo, he needs to be able to show that he can score at all three levels at a consistent level. Because at times the three ball looks really good, and then there are times the three ball looks like he should not even be trying it. The mid-range, he loves taking a lot, and the accuracy at times is decent. You guys saw that. But there are also times where it's like, ooh, maybe we should just go to the rim. And the rim accuracy at times is a little sketch for someone who's 6'10" at least. So I think for Paolo, the shot diet has to change just a little bit. And I think once he does that, he can become a legitimate top 10 player in the league. And I think at that point, this Orlando team has legitimate finals hopes. And then we need to talk about his wingman, Franz Wagner, someone who I've been very high on, but we need to have some conversations. Franz, I want to start this off with a very simple question. Where did the shooting go, man? Those first 2 years, you looked legit as a three-point shooter. And now recently, the three-point shot has completely disappeared. And on a team that has desperately needed floor spacing, I believe the regression in Franz's shot is a major reason at times why this team has struggled. Because again, Paolo will do his best to drive and create for others, but when they're left wide open from the corner or from the wing, and it's just nothing but a brick, what do you expect him to be able to do? I think Franz needs to show that the three-point shot is a priority in this offseason. I'm not saying he needs to shoot 7 to 8 a game, but in the 4 to 5 he might take, I need at least 35-36%. Because even with just Desmond Bane there, it's not like they have still a whole bunch of high caliber, trustworthy shooters right now. I think Franz, especially as the running mate to Paolo, needs to show that he can diversify his game so that Paolo can do what he does best, and it lets Franz grow as well. Because I do think Franz is a very good secondary to third playmaker on this team already. And I think that, again, the diversification in his scoring needs to happen, or to be 100% honest, if you want to talk about what the Magic do next, if they underwhelm a lot of us, I believe there's a legitimate chance they move and try to trade Franz Wagner. And unfortunately, right, I love Franz, but if the three-point shot doesn't develop, at some point, as an organization, you can't keep running into the brick wall if we don't have enough shooters around our superstar caliber guy in Paolo. So Franz might have to be moved. So I think Franz has to develop the three-point game if he truly wants to be a part of this Orlando future and try and help them win the championship in these next couple of years. And then finally, let's take a look at Desmond Bane, who I believe is going to be even bigger help than people have already thought, because he's more than just a shooter. And then finally, Desmond Bane, who the Orlando Magic wagered their entire future on, giving up 4 to 5 first-round picks. And I think, quite frankly, this was a great move for them, relatively speaking, Because I think, obviously, Desmond Bane is going to add shooting. That's what everybody, I think, at first just looked at. Oh, Orlando got themselves a legitimate floor spacer. And while that's absolutely true, I think there's something even more important from this, which I believe is that this team finally has a reasonable primary playmaker. And I think when Ja Morant, got hurt, wasn't able to play last year in Memphis, we really did see Desmond Bane sort of step up and be like, no, I can help run things here as our playmaker. And I think that's what Paolo and Franz truly need. I think the problem is, in some ways, this duo is similar to a Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now, obviously, it's not a direct one-to-one guy, so before people start, going crazy in the comments, no, I am not saying they are a direct one-to-one. But the idea remains, they, I think, needed someone who could legitimately help them create their own shot, in terms of just getting them the ball and not always having to rely on the ISO game, because that makes it so much easier for defenses to load up against Apollo, against the Franz, because they know the three ball isn't consistent enough to guard it. I think with someone like Desmond Bane there now, who can help them create that ISO, look, or, even just make an easy cut, an easy pass, easy whatever it is, Desmond Bane has made the life of the Orlando Magic a million times easier now. And I think that he truly is, in a way, that missing piece. As long as he can stay healthy and he can continue to provide that elite shooting that he has and pretty good ball handling and playmaking, this is a legit contender in the East. Now, obviously, I think part of that is the East is very hurt, but still, I think what Desmond Bane is going to provide this team is a lifting of the burden from Paolo and Franz. And I think if that burden is lifted, we're going to see them evolve to such higher heights, within reason, obviously. I'm not saying these dudes are about to both average 30, but I think we're going to see just a legitimate step up in both of their games. That is going to make this team so deadly. So now let's look into, what do the Magic truly do next, now that they've pushed all their chips in on basically this big three being their future. Ultimately, I think what the Orlando Magic do next is very simple. You roll the ball out on next year. You see how you guys do. Hopefully, if you're the Magic, you make it past the first round. I would say at best, they could maybe make the Eastern Conference Finals if the ball really falls in the right place for them, and luck and, all of these things that a team needs to, advance in the playoffs can get, then sure. I think this team can make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think, though, you need to monitor Franz Wagner. Now, again, I am a big Franz fan. I've made videos on him in this channel. I've talked about him whenever I talk about the Magic, because, again, I've been very high on him basically since his rookie year. But if the shooting doesn't develop, if it becomes too ISO heavy with him and Paolo, I would not be afraid to be willing to go, you know what? We love what you've done for this organization. You've been a big reason that we've been able to make this push to becoming, a legitimate young core. But we need to find more complementary pieces and let Desmond Bane basically slide up to our number 2 option and see what we can do from there. Is really look to see what Paolo needs to develop. Like, where is it that this team is lacking that also does not help, the holes in Paolo's game? I genuinely believe if this Magic team wants to contend, and if they want to, have year after year of like, this team could try and win a championship, you need to figure out Paolo's, shortcomings very quickly, and either A, help him develop out of them, or B, develop a team that can hide those, those issues. Just like Jokic, the Nuggets build a team to try and hide his defensive flaws. Giannis, they try and hide, the shooting flaw. Like, there's certain, great players with glaring deficiencies that you as an organization have to be willing to try and figure out, what can we do to try and mask this problem to the best of our ability? So I think you need to figure that out. And then from there, you just hope that Desmond Bane stays healthy. He's everything that you gave up 5 first-round picks for. And you hope that you can make a legitimate run. Let me know what you guys think about this Magic team. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. I'm very excited for them. But I could also see them being underwhelming. If so, I think don't be afraid to make a move. So as always, guys, this was Mr. No Hoops. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about this Magic team. Do you think they're legit? Do you think it's just because the East is weak? And as always, this was Mr. No Hoops. Have a beautiful rest of your day, guys. Peace out.